Welcome to the only podcast about made-up dragons stealing made-up ideas from made-up fantasy role-players. My name's Andrew Hornbeck.
And I'm Foster Grant. Today we're delving into the depths of the Dragon's Lair, looking for lost treasures submitted by you, the listener.
Shh! He's right there. Today, we go into Foster's mind as we answer some questions from Reddit, as well as the question of what makes a good story arc. Get ready for something crazy.
Grab your avocados and paintings of fruit bowls. This is the Dragon's Hoard.
So Foster, you are standing in the dining room of the Luthier. Butternut has just informed you that they have something of great importance to tell you. They look around, to their right, to their left, checking to see who has any prying eyes, prying ears, and then whisper to you, but not here. We have to find a place with fewer witnesses.
Upon hearing Butternut speak, I am just elated, like a proud father when their child says their first words. I pick up Butternut, coddle him in my arms, and carry him through the threshold.
He looks dreamily into your eyes and bats his big ol' horsey eyelashes. Yeah, you take Butternut outside. He is still dressed like a person, and he's talking like a person now. So, where do you think would be a good location to sort of have this debriefing?
I think we're just gonna go find the nearest alley.
Okay.
With a dead end where we could potentially be trapped, because that is where all good secrets are told.
That's a great place to tell a secret. Yeah, you walk along the streets, and there's some less progressive people that are looking at you, carrying a man in your arms, kind of looking romantically at him, and they kind of like sneer their noses, like... And you even see somebody lean up to you and they say, "Hey, get a room, buddy." And he walks away like a baby with a full diaper and just... You find an alley, though, equipped with a old fantasy dumpster and a grimy fantasy homeless man.
All perfect components of a secret sharing alley.
Yeah, it's definitely a dead end, bricked up dead end, about maybe 20 feet high. You definitely can't get over it. If you were to be ambushed at this point, that would be the prime place to be ambushed.
I'm glad we're here. I'm looking at Dumpster Man and I'm saying, we need your dumpster.
He said, "How'd you know my name? I sure am Dumpster Man." And Butternut says, "Dumpster Man, he's here." Dumpster Man says, "It took you long enough, Butternut. I'm so glad to see you."
Butternut, who is this man?
Butternut says, It's Dumpster Man, but we really don't have time to talk about that right now." And Dumpster Man says, "Foster, you don't understand what's going on here. Something really big is happening, and it may be hard for you to understand."
Well, try and explain it to me anyway. If there's any way for us to get these questions back, we're gonna do it.
Butternut looks very sadly at you and says, "What if I told you that everything you're seeing right now isn't real?"
My life is a lie?
Well, like the past 5 minutes of your life is a lie. I mean, I guess I mean, I'm really a horse, but I shouldn't be talking right now, is what I'm saying. I'm saying that this town, everything that you're hearing, everything that you're smelling or feeling doesn't actually exist. And Dumpster Pete says, yeah, and this rat that I'm eating doesn't even exist either. And he takes a big chunk out of a rat.
That would make sense, Butternut, considering I just carried a full-fledged horse out of the bar.
Butternut looks over to Dumpster Man and says, see, I told you he'd catch on quick. And Dumpster Man just kind of shrugs because he's got a big mouthful of food. But he does open up one of his dumpsters. A slat on the side of the dumpster raises up as he pulls it up there, and you can see inside they're the role players from earlier that you gave the advice to. And but they don't look the same. They all look like woodland animals. And Dumpster Man says, hey guys, I brought Foster, he's right here. And they all clap and huzzah in different animal voices.
Thank you. I am simply looking to enhance role-playing experiences.
There's a turtle in the dumpster.
Is it vampiric?
No. He's just a regs turtle. He's just a regs turt. And the turt walks up to you real slow and says, you must find the dragon priest. And Butternut jumps to his side and kind of calms down the turtle, because it looks like the turtle may faint as he's exerting so much effort in talking to you. Butternut looks over at you and says, he's an oracle. He sees visions, and he told us that you would be coming. And the turtle nods at you very slowly and says, this looks like my visions. They were very good stories, but I can't exactly remember how to make good arcs in a campaign. Could you care to enlighten me, Foster? If you truly are who we think you are. And some of the other animals, they kind of snicker and they look over at you.
Well, Oracle Turtle, not man, I will tell you exactly how to make a good arc.
There's a deer in the corner of the room, and it gasps and says, he knew your full name. And you look over, and the turtle's wearing a name badge that says Mr. Turtle, not man. But he does not look impressed.
Well, making a good arc, I think, is going to come from a couple areas. I know, especially if making an arc, you're doing your own campaign. You're you're going off, book. You're not using a guided story, I guess you say.
Oh, do we care to define an arc? Just for someone that may, just for the listener that may not be super familiar with role-playing games.
Right. An arc would be like a chapter of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So the campaign is this book, and an arc is generally maybe a chapter or two that's dedicated to the backstory of one of the characters in your party. So if you have a larger party, the arcs might be a little shorter, or if you have a smaller party, the arcs may be a little longer, depending on how long your campaign's projected to go. So arcs are, like I was saying, not specific to one character per se, but it's definitely their backstory is the main driving factor behind an arc.
Mm-hmm. That's think of it like in a video game. Arcs are sort of, they're quest lines that you go on, and then whenever you complete that line, normally a new arc begins. But arcs come in all sorts of shapes and colors and flavors and ideas, and sometimes you have whole arcs that are devoted, like you said, to a backstory. It is just backstory arc. Sometimes an arc of a story could just be a brick in the larger story. Going back to the novel reference, an arc could just be like an introductory section, like, here are these characters, and here's this town, and we're going to get some balls rolling. And I use that plurally because sometimes arcs can overlap over one another. You know, you can have 3 arcs going at once, and then at the end of those, maybe 2 of those converge and they end at the same time, and the next one keeps going. And arcs are this fluid storytelling device that makes it easier to compartmentalize bigger story pictures.
And as coming from a player's perspective, you don't necessarily know, or depending on your DM, you don't necessarily know when arcs begin or end. You can kind of sense a theme of where you're going in your story. So if one character is getting the limelight a little more than others, maybe you're in their arc, and this is more to envelop their character and to shed a little information to the other players about their backstory. Because like on our campaign, we don't share our backstories with each other. They're kind of, you know, separate. We don't really know a whole lot about each other. So whenever we hit an arc that's based on one person, it opens up a couple windows to see into the house that is this character.
Oh yeah. And sometimes arcs are solely devoted to one character. I would call those character arcs. So if you have a mysterious past, and then that past has come to fruition in some way, like some sort of prophecy, and it mainly deals with you, maybe another player, but let's say you were... I think I mentioned in the last episode, our friend Brian Myers asked about customizing his character more, and we mentioned the idea of like having a battle axe that was really powerful and like maybe a family heirloom. An arc could be, a whole arc for his character could be, they have found it in this cave, in this dungeon. They have to get down to the very bottom of this dungeon to reclaim this warhammer or this war axe, whatever we said in the last one. And now that could be an arc. That's a good example of like a character arc. But I have story arcs that are just basically the storyline, and I segment them up again for compartmentalization, so I can harken back to, like, we have one that I call trial and error. I can say, well, remember that deity that we met in the trial and error arc? Or I can kind of gauge how long I should make a session based on arcs and previous arcs. From a DM's perspective, arcs are a great tool to help you turn a really long story, because if you're anything like me, you have this massive narrative in your head, and it is very difficult to take that big slice of cake and feed it to your players all at once. And what arcs do lets you cut up that cake into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, and arcs, they don't have to be 3 sessions worth of an arc. They don't have to be really even, I guess, 1 session worth. It's whatever you need to use to get your characters on the storylines that you want them to be on. It can be used to help keep them from, just going and being murder hobos, going around from town to town, just pillaging and looking for stuff. But also, it could be something where if they just really are leaving this problem alone, it comes back to bite them in the butt later on.
Yeah. What would you say, in your opinion, from a player's perspective, what would you say the basic structure of a good arc, as opposed to a bad arc, what a good arc looks like?
Okay. So I think in my mind, a good arc, as far as a story arc goes, you have a problem that your players see. We realize that this is the issue, and we realize we have to take care of this issue. But
perhaps like meeting a potentially demonic force in a tavern.
Potentially just like that. But along the way, they realize that that is their goal, but then you throw obstacles and you throw decisions in their way. Do they want to take a direct path to trying to complete this mission or quest that they have, or you throw them little side things that also are issues, so you see if they're going to take a more roundabout way and try and fix as many things as they can on the way to this main mission.
And then, how should a good arc resolve itself? Because that's sort of like the culmination of everything. If you drop the ball on the ending of an arc, that can really sour the whole shebang.
Honestly, though, when it comes down to it, I think in its purest form, when it comes down to it, the ending of a good arc should be the players are challenged, the players have to make decisions, but I also believe there has to be some room for failure to happen. So, say you've completed this arc and you're at this big like crossroads or something, or maybe this is the end of it and this is like the boss or whatever you're going against. If you fail, you failed. Evil won or the opponent won. But I think that balance between the chance of failure but the want for success has to be kind of right there level, so that there's good tension, and that way if you win, it feels like you have overcome something. Yeah. Versus if you lose, you feel like, oh man, I want to go back and get more.
That's those are all just fantastic points, and if you are listening right now and you are a DM, you should write those down, because I can't put it a better way myself. I would say that if you're having trouble thinking of a good arc, go and read short stories, short fantasy stories, because they are perfect for solidifying an idea and making sort of like abstract ideas of like a story seem more presentable and more real, and you can use those tricks that professional authors have used and turn that into your own story. And it's not stealing, you're borrowing it. So feel free, if you find something interesting in a video game, throw that in there. If you find something interesting in a story that you've read or a movie you've seen, throw that in there. It's not stealing. I have a lot of DMs that I've talked to before that are so worried, like, I have such a hard time thinking of encounters, but I played this really cool video game and like this big old snake attacked these people, but now they'll know that I played that video game. Like, yeah, they probably already do know, but if it was cool enough to where you think it's cool, your players will also think it's cool to move that into their realm, move that out of a video game and into the fantasy RPG tabletop realm. So, in summation, what makes a good arc?
A good arc is one that takes your characters on a journey they enjoy while challenging them and giving them opportunities to quickly or not so quickly make their choice of how they want to complete their quest.
I agree with that, and Mr. Turtle, not man, also feels very satisfied with that answer. And he says, "Everything you know is about to change, Mr. Foster. Head to the highest mountain to find the dragon. There you will find the dragon priest. You must defeat him before you can proceed on your quest." And you notice that you're not in a dumpster anymore. You're in like a tent, but it's kind of, it has shifted in such a subtle way you didn't even notice it until he gets done talking. You realize you're not even in this dumpster anymore. In fact, there's just a turtle in there now. All the animals are gone except for Butternut, which he's arguably a person, and Dumpster Man is also there as well. But he looks like a very regal young man.
Well, Butternut, I think it's time we get a move on.
Butternut says, "Oh, wait, I couldn't agree more."
You can still talk?
The Dumpster Man says, "Well, of course he can talk. This is our dear friend Butternut." And you notice the turtle kind of nods and kind of gives you a tip of a top hat that he now has and kind of gestures it out to you and puts it back on his little turtle head and scuttles away. You do see that there is a very large mountain off in the distance. This is called the Mountain of Trials. And you've heard all about the Mountain of Trials, and boy howdy, are you going to have to go through some trials to get to this dragon with all these questions, comments, and stories submitted by listeners.
Well, as soon as me and Butternut leave that alley, I remove the mustache.
Oh yeah, you open up the tin. It's not an alley anymore. It's like a field of wheat.
Oh. Well, as soon as we step foot in that field of wheat,
yeah,
I take the mustache off of Butternut. I pull his cart out of my backpack and reattach it, and we ride.
Yeah, you strap on the cart to Butternut, and you hop on, and you see Dumpster Man is standing there with a very nice silk coat and a cane, and he says, "Do you think there's room enough for one?"
It'll be a tight fit.
He says, "There's no one I'd rather get." "There's no one I'd rather get cozier with than you, Mr. Foster." Butternut says, "It's like, yeah, there's plenty of room for you on here. Get on!" And the Dumpster Man hops aboard. You are rushing through this field of wheat. The smell of barley and oats caresses your palate and is a pleasant thought, a pleasant sensation, especially with the Mountain of Trials as a backdrop, which is not a very pleasant sensation. Need you to roll perception there, Foster.
17.
Oh, hey, that's good. You see something, and before your reflexes kind of take a hold, and you stop Butternut, and there's something scuttling through the wheat. Whoosh, 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 back and forth. It's too fast for you to train your eyes on it, but you've caught it. There's something there.
With something moving that fast, it will not expect me to move super slow. So, I am going to, at turtle, not man-like speed, reach my hand out and slowly walk towards whatever it is.
So you're walking with your hand outstretched. You can hear your heart beating in your ears. Adrenaline is coursing through your veins as you're walking with your digits out. And barley parts as you go through this sea of grain. And you get outside the field, and it's not, there's not any more wheat. It's just it's more field, but it's like grass. And you can see the base of the mountain.
Well, as disappointing as that was, Butternut
gets up to you and says, "Hey, what was the stop for?" You notice Butternut, it kind of just looks like a chair. Just like an animated chair.
Well, Butternut, I don't know why we stopped. I must be seeing things. To the Mountain of Trials.
Yeah, Butternut walks on his 2 chair legs. You can see that there are probably 4 chair legs, but there's only 2 of them. And he's kind of walking. And you realize Dumpster Man is not there anymore.
Well, as odd as this may be, I've seen Butternut go through worse stages in life than this.
Do you care to elucidate us on those stages?
Well,
just one. I'd love to hear an anecdote.
Well, Butternut, when he was but what's a young horse called? A calf? Not a
like
calf.
A foal?
Well, Butternut, when he was just a foal, she was going through some very odd stages. There was one stage where she painted herself completely yellow.
Okay.
And he thought she was the sun for at least 3 months.
Oh.
And so she floated in the air for 3 months, not eating, not drinking, but just giving life to the grass around her.
That is the most incredible story I've ever heard.
So I sit upon Butternut, ready to roll.
You hear a voice from behind you in the barley, kind of a sheepish voice, and says, "Hey, mister, I have your friend, and you're not going anywhere." And out walks a sheep. It's got a dagger up against what you think is Dumpster Man. It just sort of looks like a really large decorative glass lamp. And this sheep has a knife up to the lamp. It says, "Don't make me do it, mister."
He's priceless. Don't put a scratch on him.
We can give him to the Antiques Roadshow. He says, "Oh, I'll do it. I'll tarnish up this silver real good. Then you'll have such a hard time polishing it out."
I want to pull out my daggers that also look like shears.
Okay.
And just get them ready for this sheep.
You can see the wool kind of stand up on the back of his neck and says, he kind of makes a scratch against the glass of this lamp and says, "Tisk, tisk, tisk. I really hoped it wouldn't come to this," and kind of like scratches up the lamp just a little bit. You hear the lamp quiver in fear. It's kind of
I toss both shears in the air in the direction of the sheep.
Yeah.
At the same time, I grab Butternut by the top,
pull
her up, and charge.
Yeah, okay. Can you roll a ranged touch attack for those two shears?
15.
So you roll a 15 as these two shears, electric shears, just sail through the air. One of them grazes the sheep and just peels off a big chunk of its woolly fur. And at that very moment, the glass breaks. And the sheep says, "You pushed me to this. Only I can save your friend now. You should have known better to come to the mountain of trials."
I, with all my wrath, bring Butternut down upon this sheep.
No reason with this sheep. Just we don't negotiate with terrorists. Yeah, you're gonna need to roll a regular roll attack for that. Maybe we should actually get dice, baby. Okay, well you can just whatever for now.
That's a crit.
Oh, you crit on the sheep. Yeah, you smash it, and Butternut explodes in your hand. And as you smash it into a kein of woolen yarn. You completely, just the smash of the chair, sheared the sheep, killed the sheep, butchered the sheep, and it also processed all of its wool into spun yarn. And it's nicely wrapped up, and there's also a steaming plate of lamb chops. The lamb chops quiver kind of sloppily and say, "Your friend is still bleeding out." And you look down and at what once was a lamp. Doesn't look like a lamp anymore. It looks like a frog. It's just a little old frog, and he's bleeding out. It looks like he's got a stab.
I'm going to grab my microscopic needle and thread.
The lamb chops see that and they say he's been poisoned by my dagger. I can give you the antidote, but you have to answer my question.
I pick up the lamb chop.
Yes.
And I say, "What is your question?"
He says, "It's simple, really. Well, it's simple to me. It has stumped even the greatest role players. My friend Shambles299 wants to know. I'm a relatively new DM, and I have a player who jokes about wanting to be a magical unicorn. She's going to create a character, but is dead set on being a unicorn. What would the best route for her to take? What would be the best route for her to take to truly become a mythical beast?
Well, Shambles299, I think the best way for that to go about is for them to be some sort of shape changer, or maybe a druid who can. What is the? I'm trying to think. Is it a druid that can
change it? Yeah. Druids can do it.
So I guess maybe a druid would be the best route to go. That way, and as they level up, they can change their form to become beasts of nature. And if she wants to go unicorn, I say she goes unicorn. There's nothing wrong with having a unicorn in the party.
Yeah, if there's plenty of spells that lets you alter your shape. Beast form is the one that comes to mind at first. There's also a wizard spell and a sorcerer's spell called, it's like create horse or phantasmal steed or something like that, and you can create a quasi-real spectral horse. So I think if you're hesitant on like transmogrifying your players, perhaps having them create or find a unicorn as like a pet or a familiar or a animal companion may be another option.
With the animal companion route, maybe she is a summoner who summons a unicorn.
Yeah.
And so summoner's not really up in the front fighting. It's their summons that are doing the fighting. So maybe she's in the back, but she can summon from herself this unicorn who fights.
Oh, sort of like a Patronus or something like that. Like you have it is part of you. The unicorn is one with you. And going back to arcs, hey, there's an arc right there. You can turn a whole arc into her finding, sort of like werewolves, like lycanthropy. You turn into a unicorn instead of a raging wolf or something like that. That's where, whenever I first read that question, I'm like, dude, that'd be so cool to have like a werenicorn or something.
Werenicorn? Yeah. So you're walking around, full moon strolls around, and you just turn into a unicorn.
Have like a unicorn pierce them, so it's like they got bit by like a vampire, like whatever, but the unicorn like hits you with the horn, and then you turn into a unicorn.
That would be amazing.
That would be a great arc. I'm gonna change my definition before. That is what makes a great arc, is getting pierced by a unicorn and magically being altered into a unicorn.
Well, there you go.
The sheep says, correct. That is the best way to turn someone into a unicorn. Please don't eat my chops.
I slam his chops back on the plate.
Okay, you slam them down, and you whenever you slam them down, they just kind of like turn back into a whole sheep. And then it just looks like that the frog is fine now. And he croaks at you and thanks.
I pick him up, place him on my shoulder. I gather the pieces of Butternut and say, why haven't you reassembled yourself yet, Butternut? What are you slacking? And I carry the pieces and we go towards the mountain.
Yeah, you carry the pieces in your arms. The pieces of,
chair full of Butternut.
Oh, no, I meant the elegant painting of a bowl of fruit.
Yes.
You're carrying that in your arms. Just this beautiful, like a 2 by 2 foot picture, of a very elegant painted picture of a bowl of fruit. And you now enter the Forest of Trials, at the base of the Mountain of Trials. And you know that the most ghastly things live here. They live just deep inside this forest. It's a very dangerous place. I will give you the opportunity to turn back if you would like.
I look at the frog on my shoulder. I look at this beautiful painting of a bowl of fruit.
Yes.
and I think we forgot something. So we turn back,
Mm-hmm.
and I pick up my microscopic needle.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Put it back in my backpack. Now we're good to go.
All right. Yeah, so you're good to go. You're bolstered by this, and you keep on walking into the forest of trials. Behind you, you hear the ominous bawing of a very quizzical sheep. But you keep on going. You're undeterred. The past is behind you now. That terrible scene is done. You keep moving forward, walking. With every step, it seems like that the forest is getting denser and darker and danker until you have to push yourself through this mangrove forest, and it's swampy and it smells like swamp gas. And you see in front of you, not by surprise, there's a giant spider. And you can see that this spider has spun this massive web, and you can't get any further. On the body of this spider, it's dabbled with all of these blue, venomous-looking pocks that are oozing out poison.
Well, I approach the spider carefully, stealthily. I want to just appear in front of it. I don't want it to see me walk up.
Dude, I can't just let you do that. You're going to have to roll for stealth.
7.
No, that's upside down. That's actually an L. For loser, you did not get that.
Well, I very clumsily crawl forward, trying to be stealthy, but obviously I just crawled out to the
Yes, you do.
Prostrate before this spider.
The spider clicks her big mandibles. You can see within her web is spun up sacks with sheep inside of them. She has managed to capture whole sheep alive in this massive web.
Serves them right.
You
I'm
see
not
under
sheepist or anything, but
well, I would hope not, Foster. You see spun into her web, almost like Charlotte from the classic children's novel, Charlotte's Web. Why did I say it like that? From the classic children's novel, Charlotte's Web, there is a question spun out of fine spider silk. Do you care to tell me what that question is?
Yeah. The question coming from Felon 11, 11D1111, asks, I want to create a Pathfinder campaign that would focus on a noble family that all the players are members of. The campaign would start between a big battle between an old evil king and a new king. The party can decide which side they are on. This would decide their alignment for the future. Also, whatever side they choose, they end up losing. They are brought in front of the king that won, and instead of being executed, they are banished to a colony far across the sea of an unexplored continent. Destitute and exiled, the party must take control of this new colony, forge a kingdom, and retake their homeland someday. What are your thoughts on this campaign idea? To me, personally, it sounds like it's going to be a very long campaign.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Any more comments on that? Do you?
Well, I mean, besides the fact of length, I kind of like the idea of it, but man, the big thing is it's going to be like a really long campaign.
Yeah. You have to be careful with determining so much beforehand, because those plans could be really altered by the time you actually get to where they should be because of choices your players have made, and your decisions on encounters and on deaths and stuff like that are important, but if it feels forced, your players are going to notice that they're kind of not important because they're just tools that you're using to tell the story. That's not what players should be. So I'm not saying that this campaign idea is bad. I'm saying to be very careful that your players still get a say-so in this. That's the big thing that people who plan so much ahead of time, it's a trap that people like me fall into as a DM, is I plan so much stuff and then I forget that there's other people playing with me. So I have to remind myself every single time I get done with writing arc notes is to take out some stuff and leave some stuff very vague and open for the players to sort of inject themselves into. So I would say if you have the temperament of your group nailed down, you know how much time they're willing to commit to one campaign, because campaigns should end before they die, if that makes sense. Like, a campaign should never peter out. It should always end with a bang. It should always end with people wanting more. Because the only other alternative to that is people wished it was over months ago. And that's just torture. That is roleplay form of torture. That is terrible. Don't do that to them. So as long as you know that this will engage your players, it's something they can be engaged in for the length of time that it sounds like it's going to take, and you are letting them still have their way in this very detailed story that you've crafted, then yeah, I'd say go for it. Campaign should be times to experiment with new ideas, and maybe your experiment could be, how long of a... It almost sounds like a legacy game. Like, how long of a story can you tell and still keep it cohesive and still keep it interesting, which I don't think that's a bad idea at all. You just have to be careful.
Yeah. So, yeah, just like Andrew said, kind of gauge your players a little bit, see how long they're willing to rope themselves in for. And just because maybe they have something that alters your campaign, can be a good thing, Like he was saying, you don't want to have this story in your head all worked out, and then as soon as y'all start playing, they go the complete opposite of where you want them to go. Like, that's just part of DMing and working with your players a little bit. So don't get too hard set on this beautiful story you've made, because like he was saying, you got other people playing with you, and they want to add to that story.
People that I have tried to coach to DM, some of them more successfully than others. And again, I'm not some guru. I am not the end-all be-all of DMs. I am like a shoddy one at best. I'm an amateur dungeon master. People that go into like Pathfinder Society, or they get paid to like actually run games, those are people that should probably be answering this question, but you just got us now. So what I would say is, a lot of times whenever new DMs are, because they say they're fairly new, they focus on trying to take so many notes, and they feel like that's going to prepare them better. But you're not writing a novel. That's not what this is. If you're writing a novel, all of your characters are going to do exactly what you want. All of your encounters are going to go exactly the way that you want them to. There's a lot of randomness involved in Pathfinder, or any role-playing game. You incorporate dice, and that is inherently random. So you can't bank on people rolling 20s every single time. So just be careful with that. Make sure to remember that your players should come first. If there ever comes a point to where you are sacrificing their enjoyment of the game so that you can tell this quote-unquote like really cool story that you've really thought it out, if you just keep on playing, then you'll understand, and it'll be really cool. That should never be the case. There's been a couple times where I've had players I usually warn them beforehand. I'm saying, this is important, just slog through this. I promise it will be important. I promise I'll reward you for getting through it. And sometimes those end up being really fun in the present, they end up being really fun in the present in-game. Sometimes they wind up being kind of they have to muscle through this, and it's kind of stressing and hectic and stuff, but the reward ends up being interesting, or they develop in some interesting way. So always have that good balance in mind. If you're going to ask something of your players, make sure that you give them something back, which it sounds like you're asking them to devote a lot of time. So make sure, whether in-game or out of game, you reward them in some way, because you are asking them to be your audience, basically. You give this to the spider, and the spider clicks her big mandibles in agreement. But she's also starving. She attacks you.
Well, as a distraction, I pull the frog from my shoulder.
Oh, you mean the battle axe?
Yes.
Yeah.
The battle axe frog.
Yes.
And I take it and I throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I do that, I take my fruit ball painting.
Yes. That's still just a bowl of fruit painting.
Awesome. And I take it and I toss it to the right. So I was like, which way are you going to go now?
Oh, so you're trying to juke the spider.
And one of you.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you kind of you scramble out these items, and this spider is now surrounded by a picture of a bowl of fruit and an axe that is laying on the ground, and the spider's eyes are swiveling back and forth, looking at all of these different items that are around them, and you can see the spider raise up like its two front legs, just kind of like, hey buddy, I don't want any trouble. You can see its many eyes are particularly locked onto the bowl of fruit. Like, no, not having any problem with that thing. It slowly unweaves its web and opens it up like sheer curtains, and like just kind of like a bouncer, and just like you just go in, just go through.
I grab my axe, I grab my fruit painting, and we carry on.
Okay, you grab the axe, you grab the fruit painting, you can feel the axe quiver in your hand as a sort of congratulations, like very good job. You feel the bowl of fruit painting just kind of like liquid falls out of it. You don't know what that is.
I'm gonna scoop up the liquid.
Yeah,
hold on to that.
You pick it up. It is just like green water. It is just water, but it's colored green. And as you like shift it around, you can see that there's like glitter inside. Maybe it's magical. Maybe it has some kind of interesting. Oh, you shotgun. You just pop. Just take that shot of green liquid that fell out of a painting. No, I think it may have just been like lime juice, but it had like sand in it, and that's what was the sparkly stuff. So it doesn't do anything. It just fell out of this painting.
Well, hey, now my stomach is prepared to absorb any poisons with this sand.
Oh, hey, yeah, there you go. It's kind of like whenever a kid throws up in an elementary school and you put sawdust on top of it, except with poison
and sand.
Now you're at the base of the mountain of trials. You can see perched at the very top is the dragon with a horde of questions, comments, and stories submitted by listeners.
I grab my axe and I point and I say, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, you point this avocado up at the dragon and say, I'm coming for you. And you clutch. You clutch your trusty bathrobe next to your heart. But you need to roll a perception check.
16.
Oh. Classic number. You realize behind you is not the forest anymore. It's just a bunch of bamboo poles that are sticking out of the ground. And the mountain looks like a mountain, but it just sort of looks like it's hastily constructed, like it's made out of like paper mache. But there's also like chunks of the world missing. Like this world that you're in is fractured, and it's like it's breaking. It's like it's falling apart in front of you. You don't know what's going on.
Well, I take my bathrobe, I wrap it around a bamboo stick.
Yes.
Bend it down. Hop on.
Oh yeah, you pole vault straight up to the dragon. The wind is burning your face. You
avocado in hand.
You so much trajectory. The dragon is asleep. It does not know that you're there. So you collide avocado first into the dragon, and it just explodes on his face, and he looks like such an idiot.
Who's got the avocado on their face now?
The dragon roars in pain. You see it stagger backwards, and disappear. You're standing on a bunch of questions, comments, and stories submitted by listeners, and they disappear. And then you see the mountain beneath your feet, and it disappears, and suddenly you're just in a white scape. And there's a smashed avocado in front of you, and then there's an avocado-stained bath towel in your hands. And the avocado forms up into the shape of a demonic creature draped in human skin. And they say,
"You really don't get it yet, do you?"
I take the bathrobe.
You look down the bathroom. It's gone.
I look at my hands.
Yes.
I look around me. The absence of any form of butternut and the absence of any form of dumpster man.
Mm-hmm.
I just fall to my knees.
He says that
There was no dumpster man. There was no talking horse. The minute you walked into the luthier, you were under my spell. This was all in your head. We've been breaking your mind slowly, and we've got everything we need now.
But you don't have this.
Oh,
I pull out
snap.
my microscopic sewing kit and I sew together
Yeah,
a rope
a rope.
from my own clothes.
Okay, you hastily take off your clothes. Yeah, and you make a rope. You've got a rope. Yeah.
And I lasso with my rope. I lasso the demon.
Okay, you sling it out. The demon catches it in its hands, and you see that the rope just kind of, it turns into like this really wet, like toilet paper in his hand, and drips out.
Don't you get it? This is all imaginary. None of this exists. It would just be as easy for me to do this.
And he snaps his fingers, and everything is on fire.
It was as it is to do this.
And you see the wet toilet paper in his hand, and he kind of slops it on the ground.
If this is truly imaginary, then it must be a dream.
He says,
Now you're getting it. And we're in your head, and the longer I'm in here, the longer we'll break you.
I look at him and imagine myself smacking him in the face as I smack my own face.
yeah, you smack your face, and you see him like recoil backwards and he holds his face, and he says,
Ow!
I smack
that kind of
again
hurt. Yeah,
with a fiery desire to be with my bipedal horse. I just smack and smack and smack.
realizing this is your brain, you have control of that, and you say fiery desire. This manifests into you have this fiery form of burning righteous heat, and you smack him, and you can see that these scorched handprints are embedded in this demon's face with every single smack, until he's burnt up and he's scarred, and he says,
We were in your head. We broke your mind. We asked you too many questions for any one person to withstand. How did you survive our torture?
And I grab him by the throat. I lift him in the air, and I say, there are never enough role-playing questions. And I cast him away from my sight.
you cast him away from your sight, and he just slowly melts off into this white surrounding environment. And you can see as he's drifting away out of this reality, you can see the shocked expression on his face. and as if to say,
"Well done. You have bested me."
And he disappears. You jolt up, and you're sitting at the table with Butternut, and in this tavern. Some people are looking at you like quizzically. There, person walks up to you, a young lady. Excuse me, are you okay, sir?
I'm fine. Butternut, did you get the beer?
Butternut holds up 2 frothy mugs of beer and gives an excited whinny, and then everyone gasps and looks over at the horse in disguise. Thanks again for listening to the Dragon's Horde podcast.
If you want to submit any content or questions of your own, you can message us at thedragonshordecast@gmail.com or visit our Reddit page, The Dragon's Hordecast.
Or tweet at us at the Hordecast for a chance to star in a future adventure.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe and catch our podcast weekly on Tuesdays.
And make sure to rate us on iTunes so we can keep the adventure going. Why? I love podcasts.
I mean, everyone's just dying to be on a
They
podcast.
are.